I'm Mark Seifter.
And I'm Linda Zayas-Palmer.
And this is Arcane Mark. Welcome to Arcane Mark Asks Customer Service Representative Virginia Jordan. And welcome, Virginia.
Hello.
So, as you might notice, Virginia's camera is frozen at the moment.
Either that or a ghoul paralyzed her.
Yeah, I can't tell myself at the moment.
So, you can still hear her, so we're going to ask our typical starting question, and maybe the Hangout will get unfrozen throughout the episode.
And if anybody ever has trouble hearing her, please let us know, and we will look into troubleshooting at that point.
That's right. So our first episode is, Virginia, tell us the more interesting, or both, if they're both an interesting segue, of how you got into tabletop RPGs, or how you got into playing Pathfinder.
So they kind of dovetail into one another. For my first ever introduction, I played 3.5, and I had a GM that wasn't that good, and so I thought that tabletop was just not for me. And then I started dating my current boyfriend, and he goes, no, honey, let me show you Pathfinder. And he ran a game for me that way, and I really loved it. And then I was, a post-grad looking for a job, and he goes, hey, honey, there's the company that makes Pathfinder, and they look like they're hiring. You want to apply? And I did, and now the rest is history.
All right. Well, that actually, you've answered both halves of the first question and the second question all in one. Is the most concise answer to those two that we've ever received, because everyone has their own path to working at Paizo. So you were post-grad and looking to work at Paizo. What did you study before that? We can get a little bit of extra detail there.
Yeah, so I went to art school, but I went to the University of Washington to study photo media, and so I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in that. So I take the pretty pictures, and I did a minor in digital art as well. So I work with a lot of video footage as well in my technical practice.
Cool.
Yeah.
And that's a great segue into another topic, which is your photography.
Yeah.
So how did you get into photography?
Yeah. I always thought of it as the perfect blend between art and tech in terms of, working with the latest technology that's going to come out and getting to work with computers as well as creative subjects as well. And so the fact that I can do that together and kind of create whatever subject matter I want has always really interested me.
Cool. So, do we have a link we
yes,
can put up?
Yes, I was just
right,
grabbing
perfect.
the link to
there
our
we
website,
go.
jordanimages.com.
And see all sorts of pictures
so,
here.
So I see, so your tagline to your website is, let me capture your imagination and creativity amidst the verdant forests and diverse cityscapes of the Pacific Northwest. So, where do you like to go to take your pictures? Are there like particular parks you favor or things like that?
I like going to hiking trails or places that are like national parks and taking people's pictures there. I LARP and I take a lot of LARPers' portraits, and they very much love forests, and so do I. I grew up in one, so I figured, I feel right at home. Why not? It's one of my favorite places to be. Why not take a lot of pictures there too?
That makes sense. You mentioned LARPing. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the LARPing that you've done? Yeah,
so I actually started LARPing about 4-5 years ago, which I've actually learned is not that long if you're a LARPer, but I met a lot of people who did Vampire the Masquerade's LARP. They took the World of Darkness setting and made it a LARP. And I went to a kind of a low fantasy medieval setting about 5 years ago, and I played an NPC, and I thought it was really weird. And then I came back, and I didn't leave.
Cool. There's a question from the chat. Wither King asks, what's some of the work you have done? Do you have a favorite place and photograph?
So some of the work that I've done, some of it has been LARP promo work. I don't have it up there, but I have a video that I did for the game that I'm actually a storyteller and developer on. It's called Gothic Age of Ashes, which it's really interesting because it was coming out the same time that we rebooted the Paizo Age of Ashes, and I thought, oh no. Oh, are we going to get into a copyright thing? But it's fine. It's fine.
Ooh, I just found it. This looks awesome.
It's Gothic Age of Ashes.
Gothic Age. This is ageofasheslarp.com?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, and
Let me pop a link there.
That is run by my friend Chantel Yeager, and I work with some great people on doing the dev work for that and the lore work. Been working on it for about 2 years, and we just had our first beta game, and then a pandemic hit, and our second beta game was supposed to be this last weekend. So, yeah, there's lots of moving parts at the moment. We're still working.
This looks really awesome. Did you do like the video design and photography for this site?
I have not done all the photography. A lot of it that you see on there is still stock footage, but I did the videography for the trailer, and that took probably about 4 months. It was a lot of work, and it was a lot of driving. I almost set someone's room on fire.
How did that happen?
We were trying to light an incense cone, and I was playing a person who was blinded by a scarf, and I knocked it over and started screaming.
Oh no!
That didn't make it into the final cut. A lot of the people that are in the trailer are staff members or people who have been in the community for a long time, and so it's just a lot of fun that I was able to bring something that I really enjoy doing to one of my hobbies.
Wow.
And it was a lot of fun, a lot of work, but a lot of fun.
So, what are some of the characteristics of this of the character? So, I see something here where it's a weekend long event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that is gonna be longer than, I don't know if anyone has done a parlor LARP or a one shot. You know, those are just generally going to be a day or an evening. For the weekend-long LARPs, the owner of the LARP actually also owns a site down in Onalaska, Washington, where some other local LARPs are renting from us. If people are familiar with Dystopia Rising, Shadow Accord, Eldritch. But you go, and there's a place to stay. You stay for 2 nights. You get fed. You're in the woods, there's a river, there's monsters, there's screaming. Everyone likes to get a chance to either scream, cry, or jump out of the dark. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it if you don't have any heart problems.
I was thinking, like, I had heard of Dystopia Rising. I was like, why had I heard of it? And I remember now that, like, someone on the design team linked a Twitter response that was just this incomprehensible series of statements that no one could understand that they had linked it to, but everyone understood who had seen it in the Twitter except us. And so we had like a Google contest, and I Googled it. I was like, okay, this refers to the LARP Dystopia Rising. I eventually found something that was in the string of it that we were able to search and figure out what it was.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I have a lot of friends who play that. It's a really big one. I know it's at least nationwide. I don't know if it's worldwide or not.
Yeah, probably that makes sense for why people were just referring to it on Twitter and then immediately knowing what they were talking about. But they were just the person who posted was just mystified. It's like, what is this about? It's clearly a game.
Yeah, I don't know if you've had him on before, but gosh, Eric Keith plays or did play.
Yeah, we had Eric Keith on before.
Yeah, so he was interested in going back the last time I talked to him. So yeah, I know we got a few LARPers in the office, not that many, but there's some.
Mm-hmm.
I just knew about you and Eric Keith, so. And I see here that I see here in your bio on the Age of Ashes page that you describe yourself as a costumer. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so before I LARPed, which was probably my introduction to LARPing, I cosplayed a lot. I don't anymore just because, it's just a different scene I switched from, but I've been sewing for like 10 years and making props and costumes is really, really fun to me. And so I like getting to do that and bring that to the LARP. I wish I could show some pictures, but I made a monster for our LARP a while ago, and it was this big towering thing with eyes and a big cloak, and I was very proud of that. But it allows me to kind of have a goal and a deadline to make costumes, which is nice.
If you email me a picture, then I can pop it up onto the screen.
Sure, let's see. I think I can do that. If not, it.
Yeah, it may not be like immediately up on the screen, but whenever I get it, I can put it up there.
Sure. Yeah, I'll see if I can get that to you.
So I know also that you're very interested in medieval history. Are you interested in making costumes that are sort of period accurate, or using your historical knowledge for your costume design?
I really like the idea of doing that. I thought about getting into the SCA, the Society for Creative Anachronism. I know that they have very, very strict guidelines for all of their stuff. But I followed some people online who look at paintings and tapestries and then try to directly recreate the clothing they see from the information they have. And so I think that's really neat, and I'd love to get more into that. I just know it takes a lot more work, especially if you're doing like beading or weaving or fabric painting or any of those things that only people with time and determination do.
Yeah. Well, and I've seen some of those videos too where people talk about like it's a lot more expensive to hand make clothes.
Yep.
Particularly if you're making, particularly when people are like, oh yes, let's just hand make a ball gown. And it's like, well, how much did a ball gown actually cost back in the day when it was handmade?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. If anyone tells you it's cheaper to make your own clothes, they're a filthy liar.
So there's two questions from chat. One is, how often has sewing come in handy for your enactments?
A lot. I get to spend a lot less money than other people because I sew my own costumes. Although I can't do things like smith metal armor. But I actually have a few friends who do that. But it's nice to be able to take a pattern and make, a basic shirt, a tunic, or even, something more elaborate and not have to go to a pretty expensive retailer online who they make good stuff, but when you're in a high cost of living area, it's good to save money where you can.
Yeah.
That makes sense. The other question was, when did you get into LARPing?
So, I believe it was my senior year of college, and so that was about 5 years ago. Yeah, I actually got into it via someone I met through cosplay. So it all of us weird kids who wear costumes are somehow connected in one small way or another.
Well, Eric Keith is also into cosplay, so
yep.
There you go.
We did cosplay of what's the iconic warrior?
Valeros, yeah.
Yeah.
He's famous in these circles for those Valeros cosplay.
I remember him showing me how he makes his chainmail armor with like little pieces of plastic pipe that are put together and then spray painting it with metallic spray paint and watching him shake it out, and it was just the most magical looking thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy what people can do, yeah.
Yeah.
So, it says in this bio here that you're very interested in Fae lore. Tell us more about that.
So, really, I have a thing for Celtic mythology and folklore. I'm pretty sure that's where my family's from, so I like to look into that. But also all over the world, just the idea of fairies and fae is ubiquitous enough that it's kind of like, huh, how does everyone know about that? But then it's different enough that, okay, I can see this culture and this culture's influence on that, and it's a lot more interesting to me than maybe things like cryptids, just because they aren't always supposed to be good or have a rhyme or reason, and it's spooky like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't tell James, Jacobs, or Adam, but I also am more interested in fae than cryptids.
Well, I think with cryptids, a lot of it's more like, oh, I managed to get a picture of it and no one's seen it. Whereas with fae, there's so many tales, and there's so many interesting things that come from, like, oh, if this is how people explain these weird things that happen.
Yeah. I also feel like everyone reads into Greek mythology and Norse mythology, but Celtic is definitely sort of like underplayed mythology. Yeah. Like, I don't know, when I was in trivia circuits, like, if I knew a really obscure Greek mythology question, people were like, yeah, of course. But I answered a Celtic one that was off the wall, and one of the top players was moderating, was like, how did you even know that? I was like, it's not that hard compared to some of the other questions you ask. It's just Celtic mythology.
Sure. People stay away because the words sure are really hard to pronounce.
Well, the great part if you're just reading it online is you might not know that until you try to talk about it with someone and find out you're mispronouncing everything.
And then you can't even understand what they're saying because your pronunciation in your head was literally so wrong that you can't even.
Oh, NIAMH is Neve? Okay.
Yeah, that was my LARP character's name, actually.
Oh, Neve? Cool.
Yeah.
There we go.
See, we got some comments
I have
here.
a character name I use a lot, Lasser, which is one of a triple, not that obscure, but somewhat obscure triple deity from Celtic mythology.
Yeah. Oh, that's where Lasser comes from.
Yeah.
It's not just half of your characters ever.
Yeah, well, it's Lasser, Latiaran, and then a third one that I'm not even going to try to pronounce correctly, but it's spelled like Engien Buida or something like that. It's certainly not pronounced that way.
Yeah, I saw the name of, I think it's the group of fairies that are really important, and you don't really know how it's pronounced, and then I heard it, and I was like, oh yeah, Tuatha De Danann.
Oh yeah.
That's not what I learned in Spanish class, but okay.
Yeah, Tuatha De Danann or something, but it's not actually going to be... It's like the th is somewhere else, and it's...
Who knows? Well, I mean, a lot of people know, but not us.
Yes.
If anyone in chat knows how to correctly pronounce it.
You know what, though? Firbolg, I think, is actually pronounced that way.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Sebastian Hurst says, I have a lot of respect for people that deal with cloth and leather. Seeing cosplayers working with leather is a bit intimidating, so I mostly work with foam. It's a fascinating area, smiley face.
I did some leather work. I had to give it up. It's so hard. I foisted it onto one of my other friends. it's
here, do it.
Yeah. But also, yeah, if you work with foam, I've seen people do some crazy stuff with foam that make, gorgeous armor, and it's really, really neat.
I don't get this comment. It says we don't always have to take she. Is it?
I think it's a joke about saying it's side.
Oh, take sides, but
yes.
she. Okay.
Yes,
I knew it was a joke, but I couldn't tell what was going on there.
I figured it out.
You got it, Linda. You got it.
People talking about the Fae before, saying they love the creepy side of Fae. The Fae are quite spooky. There's so many permutations, but at the same time, there's a lot of global rules to these stories.
Yep. Yeah. The fact that they're spooky is the best. The Disney versions are, yeah, they're great, but when you learn about the really weird, often scary stuff they do, it's that much more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So you're into LARPs and like Fae. Have you ever played Changeling? We recently got that when it was free. There was a week when Changeling, Mage, and the other ones were
Changeling
free.
the Dreaming.
Yeah.
I bought the book. I think it may have been an art book by White Wolf, and the mechanical version, but I knew some people who ran a game up in Canada, and I always wanted to play. That sounded like the best for me because I did a werewolf LARP. I tried Vampire the Masquerade, but Changeling just seems to be the coolest. But you know, it's not around here.
Yeah, nobody seems to be playing it. We had some rules questions. I tried to look it up online, and it was like the only way to get answers was if it was exactly the same in Vampire. Then people had answered it from Vampire, but like no one was talking about Changeling.
And then we were like trying to figure out what to do for some of the other ones. We're so far we
are trying to play.
We have finished building one of our 3 characters, almost finished building a second one, and done a prologue for the one that we like finished building. But we're still trying to figure out what the heck we're doing.
It's rough.
We just started. We just started working on it like
with the anniversary edition.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, that sounds cool. Y'all have to tell me if the mechanics are doable.
The mechanics are the part that's really tricky, and one thing that we found a little troublesome that I think is true for other storytellers, because I found people complaining about this in Vampire, is that character creation uses a very, very different scale than advancement for what costs how much in a way that incentivizes. So a lot of people are like, oh, just use XP for character creation, but it'll be like, oh, right now in character creation it costs 1 point each to buy your willpower up to 10, but if you buy it up to 9, it costs 27 points of XP to buy it from 9 to 10 as opposed to 1 character creation point, whereas like, just, there are certain things that are weirdly incentivized, and at first I thought they had, like, this multi-dimensional chess thing going where they wanted to get people to buy them during character creation, until I read the example of, sort of the example character building, where they absolutely didn't do any of the things that were incentivized during character creation, and I was like, okay, so that's what they want you to build, which is the opposite of what they've incentivized, so...
Well, we decided that we would just use like the standard rules and try to figure out the game first before going into doing variants or anything like that.
You know what? That sounds like a good idea. I know White Wolf has some stuff going on.
It seems like a lot of fun though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also it's just the 2 of us, so I'm the characters, so it's probably easier to be like, oh, if I'm overpowered, it's fine, because who else is gonna care?
Yeah.
Eltero says this is one of the big problems in the old World of Darkness.
I think that this is the anniversary edition, which is not... I don't know a lot about what the old World of Darkness versus the new World of Darkness versus the anniversary edition, and which one is in which continuity, but I think that the anniversary version is... Because it said it had some things from the old one, and it tried to take the best. It claimed it was, of course, itself, so it's going to claim that it's the best version of itself. That was probably
nothing wrong with self-promotion. Risky loves Anku. Anku are really
the
cool.
assassin fae of the eldest who make shadow clones.
They make shadow clones, and if one of them is there, then you know that something big is going down.
Ooh.
Let's see. In this bio again, it talks about the cyberpunk genre. Can you tell us a little bit about your love of cyberpunk?
Oh yes. So I, recently, I'm using air quotes, getting back into tabletop. I haven't played too many, but I'd really like to play Shadowrun, especially since it was made in Seattle.
Oh yeah.
And I think it actually has a source book for Redmond, where Paizo is located.
I'm pretty sure it does. I'm pretty sure Seattle is the main location in actually a lot of RPGs, The Strange and Shadowrun, and just several, just because this is where a lot of gaming companies are.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I'm really excited for Cyberpunk 2077 to come out, and I always like genres like not genres. Sorry, like The Fifth Element and Blade Runner and all that. And I know those aren't necessarily true cyberpunk, but it's weird when they're genre purists. But just stuff with that aesthetic and feel.
We're not going to be
genre purists. It's like, is it fun? Yes. Okay, you like it. Awesome.
Is it cyber?
Yeah.
It's definitely cyber. I don't really know exactly what punk is one way or the other, so we'll just be cool with that.
There's something about the idea of getting machine parts just because you like the way they look that just, you know what? As someone who loves aesthetics, just live your best life. Get those robot parts.
And if you can be a medieval robot fae, all the better.
That just blew my mind because that's now my next career goal. So
All right.
I've just set a lot of new goals.
Just invent a time machine that can also take you into the Celtic otherworlds where fae live and robot parts.
Well, I mean, see, the thing is, fae live a long time, so you could have like a fae who had medieval clothing, but also like over time, maybe like they lost an arm and they decided why not replace that arm with like a robot arm.
Or in Changeling, it could take place in the future and have robot parts, but your Changeling voile could be medieval looking like it usually is because it's made from dream stuff.
Oh yeah, so then you actually simultaneously are a medieval looking person and have robot arms.
It depends on your intention.
Yes.
So I need to remind you guys I went to art school. I can't figure out how to do any of that, but I'll pay someone to.
There you go. Well, I studied computer science, but not the part that builds robot arms, but maybe the part that codes robot arms, so that's the closest I can come to any of those three things, so I'm not going to be helpful.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about the power of imagination here. We've all got that.
Yeah. I'm sure we can make something work with that.
Elftro says steampunk pixie.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds lovely.
That would be cool. Oh, man. Now I'm picturing a steampunk pixie.
I could see it. I
too.
could see it. I could even see it in the Pathfinder setting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if you did it just right, I think that could definitely be a thing.
Well, there's more like steampunky type stuff now in like Ustalav, and then Alkenstar's got that too.
Alkenstar's like it's somewhat steampunk, but it's also somewhat a little grittier.
Yeah.
But Ustalav with the mad science and the more Victorian steampunk, now that they've gotten a little bit of reverse engineered, not quite tech, I could see a pixie, and they would be really dreary and spooky fake because Ustalav, right?
So we have like so it's sort of like an emo pixie with like steampunk aesthetics.
Yeah, probably goth steampunk aesthetics.
Perfect. That's a dream come true.
We create all sorts of random characters on this channel all the time.
Yep. Elftro says that's the title of a song.
I wouldn't be surprised. So, speaking of creating characters, do you have some favorite characters that you've played?
Let's see. So I must say that my first ever LARP character, if that's what we're talking about, I mean, I do have tabletop characters too, but my first ever LARP character was the one that was my favorite. She was kind of this scruffy little Scottish pagan kid who eventually got too wrapped up in fae stuff and turned into a monster priest, and her friends had to kill her.
Oh no!
Uh-oh.
That sounds like a really exciting journey though to get there.
It definitely was, but then right after that, you get used to that fun, and when there isn't that, then you're like, well, what do I do? But let's see. It's really fun to play certain characters if you have a group. Like we played a military LARP called Spite. It's almost over. It's a sci-fi military one, and usually I'd be like, LARPing as part of the U.S. military doesn't sound super interesting, but we had a good group of people, and we were also fighting aliens, and we were also genetic experiments. So, yeah.
The characters, or you were genetic experiments?
The characters.
Are you making a character player
No,
joke
I mean,
again?
we were talking about the good group, and I was like, well, a group of genetic experiments as players would actually be a really
You're
good
totally
group.
making a character versus player joke again. Maybe a more subtle one, but it still is. Be iconic, like, oh yeah, you killed your players. Oh, you killed your players. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Don't you mean the characters? Sorry, I'm tangenting here.
So it was genetic experiment soldiers versus the alien hordes.
Yeah, it was like you could actually pick different branches. It was really cool. You could be a humanitarian, you could be part of this mercenary company, you could kind of be part of this hick group that would just salvage weapons and sell them back to people, or you could be part of the military and the genetic experiments, they were called XMs. And so we were like these cloned people who had like all white eyes and little barcodes on our cheeks, and like we couldn't sleep, but we were bio enhanced warriors that could really shoot them good. But yeah, we had a riot shield and a 2x4 with nails in it.
Nice. You said that one's almost over. Are the humans winning, or is the alien invasion inevitable at this point?
You know what? I died in that game too, so I haven't kept up with it too much.
Okay,
Oh,
fair
no.
enough, fair enough. Wow, is that just common? Do your characters the ones that just get killed off quickly in the games, or?
No, and like it's kind of the same deal as in tabletop. If you kill off a character too soon, like you don't want someone to have invested a lot of time into a character just to have it taken away. Um, but you know, games happen over months and months, so you have time to kind of exist with the character and play with it. And some LARPs you just don't care about as much, and so you're like, this is for fun. I'm fighting Nerf with my buddies. Okay, I died. That's all right. And but you know, it's always kind of hard to lose a character. But no, I don't make a habit of dying. It's just happened twice.
Oh, it was just happens to be the two that we talked about. Maybe it
Yes.
makes it a more interesting story because it has like a beginning and an end.
I think it does, and that's kind of the, you know, it's you've created the story and the story's come to an end. Sometimes you get bitter about that end, but sometimes it's, you know, it's nice to be like, yep, this is where I'm done. This was a good story. I've told it, and it's time to start another.
Makes sense.
So to go back to your website for a moment, I noticed that there's a book here button for people who would be interested in hiring you. What types of projects are you generally interested in? Like if somebody were to pitch something to you, what would you be looking for?
So I generally do alternative portraiture. If people want like their LARP characters or costumes taken pictures of, or you know their cosplays, or if they want, you know, some sort of short film that's kind of fictional. That's what I do. I've tried weddings; they're awful. But also if you're just like, you know, kind of, I've got an alternative fashion sense or something like that, or I have you know, a geeky or alternative event I'd like you to take pictures of. That's kind of my niche, is you know, weirder aesthetic photography.
So pictures of weird stuff.
Yes.
If people need you to make sure that they get a picture of like the UFO or cryptid that lives near them to send to the government or something like that, would that be too weird or like just weird enough?
Are they buying me ice cream as payment?
Oh, that's a good question. we can ask on chat. Oh, hey Nitrace. You should go and check the video log for the harrowing episode where we did several harrowings for you while you weren't there.
Yep. But we saved one for when you're back. So, what was I going to say?
I don't know. Was it about the cryptids and UFO pictures?
Oh, yes, actually. You mentioned ice cream. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Man, you know what? It's between Full Tilt's Thai iced tea, and then Haagen-Dazs has this like Irish cream brownie that just came out. I don't know. I like them both. They're pretty great.
That sounds really good.
Wow, Linda, you've never had a Thai iced tea ice cream.
I haven't. I really like Thai iced tea, though. I need to try this.
They're in 2 locations in Seattle, I think, and they do sell at some stores. But yeah, they're local and they're really cool.
But is the Irish cream ice cream a favorite ice cream of Faye?
Probably, if we're gonna group by cultures, I think that's pretty valid.
They can have any favorite ice cream they want.
I guess that's true. I've read a book about Faye where one of the most powerful Faye just buys Diet Coke at the grocery store.
What book is that?
It's a series called October Day.
Sounds familiar, but I'm not sure if I've heard it.
Shannon McGuire. It's a sort of urban fantasy series about a changeling who does work as a private investigator / hero for the local Fae in the San Francisco area, and has lots of issues, and yeah.
Well, now I know what I'm reading next. Thank you very much.
I think it's a pretty good series, and it's very, very clear that the author knew exactly what she wanted to do, like, 8 books later in, like, the first book, based on some very subtle foreshadowing that you can see going back to it, whereas with a lot of authors, I feel like by the time they get further on, they just sort of make up some other things that were going on in the background, so...
The name of the series is October Day. I will link you the author's website here. Boop.
I think also someone said that our editor, Patrick Hurley, who was on the show before, like, knows that author. But I may have misheard that.
There's a lot of really awesome connections.
I think Patrick Hurley knows a lot of people
Patrick
because
Hurley
of all the sorts of geek stuff that he edited, like Star Wars and
like
Star Trek
Patrick
and
Hurley, and
everything.
he just like casually drops that he edited for Star Wars and Star Trek in like one sentence and a bunch
Disney
of other stuff and Disney, and we're like, you can't
Marvel.
just drop that sentence.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then we spent like half an hour unpacking that one sentence.
That's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's one of these things when we do these interviews. It's always like, well, I didn't know you were into costuming, for example. I mean, we talked about some of the things before, but...
We should build, like, a chart of Paizo. It's like, Virginia and Aaron Keith are into costuming and LARPing. Virginia and Patrick Reaney are into photography and have a lot of Pacific Northwest photography.
Yeah, like one of those... What's the thing from Always Sunny? He's got the wall with all the lines on it and the pictures and the meme.
I'm afraid I don't know that.
I haven't seen
Ask me about Fae or Celtic mythology, and I can talk to you about that. But ask me about pop culture, and it may go over in my head.
You know what? That is A-okay. But this series looks neat. I'll definitely have to check that out.
Awesome.
So let's see. Are there other questions in the chat? Just someone else who appreciated the idea of Thai iced tea ice cream who wanted to check it out. Don't start killing your players. Leave yourself room to grow. Sebastian suggests from our venture captain from Germany. That's good advice.
Especially someone who I just recently started GMing, so I'll try not to kill my players, right?
Yay!
So, you said you just recently started GMing. What system are you running?
I'm running Pathfinder, but I'm doing a whole homebrew world. For some reason, that's just my thing, where it's like I like doing world building too much that I kind of don't stick with a lore system.
Hey, we don't judge. We do all sorts of homebrew worlds too.
So what's kind of some of the core ideas and concepts behind your homebrew world?
Well, the big surprise is that there's a Fey world underneath the real one, and it's so much more important.
Underneath as in, like, there's an underground cavernous Fey world, or underneath as in, like, hollow world, you go on the inside and it's just a different planet with its own sky?
Bit of both. So it's kind of an odd, like, dark fantasy horror game. I'm not sure if you guys have seen, there's a Japanese horror artist, but he has this one where people, like, go into these holes in a mountain, and it's really creepy. It might upset some people, so I'm not gonna describe it in detail, but, like, there are these, yes, Jinji Ito.
There we go.
Yeah, and
I wouldn't go
so-
linking directly
I'm
in
just
Jinji Ito's
checking.
images.
yeah,
This is this is a family friendly chat.
yeah, but there are these.
I see.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it was weird. But there are these crevasses that have opened up in my world that it's a big meta thing with the gods, but the holes draw people to them, and underneath that's the entrance to the Fey world, and stuff gets scary and spooky. But I'm really excited to explore it with my players. I just had my first game, and now they're making me world build a school that I didn't know I would have to. So now they're going to go to Russian Hogwarts.
Russian Hogwarts. That's cool. So
Awesome.
is it like folklorishly Russian, or actual Russia because it has real world countries and also the Fae?
So they're not in the Fey world yet. They're still in the quote-unquote real world. But no, this is a mage academy that's up in the mountains and is in an area that, I've kind of taken some culturally Russian stuff with. But I didn't think they would go so soon, so now I have to actually write the school. So we'll see what happens. They're right outside my door as we talk, so I don't want to.
Oh, fair enough. It's pretty much the first rule of players is that no plant survives contact with the player.
I see. Your players are your roommates, so they would all eavesdrop and hear all about the secrets of
So
the
what's
school.
the biggest secret of your campaign? Louder for the people in the back.
The real enemies were the friends you made along the way.
Oh no!
Aww.
Well, that makes.
Wait a minute, that wasn't nearly as touching as it sounded.
No, that makes sense for Russian fairy tales, though. They often have like a very cynical sort of twist to them.
Yeah, no kidding. Ooh. No, they just might get mad and do their laundry a bit louder.
That makes sense.
Awesome. But I'm glad you've still been able to play with everything that's been going on.
Yeah, we tried Roll20. It is a system I'm not really familiar with. But we've all been kind of sequestered enough that we are okay maybe having 1 or 2 days a month in person. But we're probably going to bring individual cans of Lysol, or I can do that like when you train cats. Some people spray them and spray my players with Lysol.
There you go.
That'll end up well. I don't think there's any problem with that I can see happening well.
Well, if they're all that close to you, then I'm sure the Lysol will just help disinfect the whole area.
Good point. Yeah, it'll all work out just fine.
That's the thing about Seattle area apartments is they're not that big.
Yeah.
No, they're not.
The convenient thing for me and Linda is if we want to play a game that's just us, we're sequestered together. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works for my game, but only for half of them, so we're joining the other people tomorrow. But yeah, they've played a little bit alone. They're establishing a relationship between their two characters, and I think that's fun.
That is cool.
Yeah, they're bros.
You could have them like out on the porch, and they're not allowed to come into the apartment.
There you go. Yeah, you guys have it. We'll communicate via Zoom.
Social distancing. They're just 6 feet away.
I'm thinking about how you would do it like in our place. It's like we don't have a porch, but we do have like a small balcony. It's like, oh, now you stand out on the tiny balcony, and then.
But soft, what light do yonder window raise?
Yeah, the space is at a premium, but I don't. I want to go see friends, so I'll take whatever I can get. I'll wear masks and gloves. It's fine.
Yeah.
But hopefully that'll. I'm hoping for a 1 through 10 campaign. But this is my first time GMing, so I'm just kind of learning as I go.
Level 1 through 10 can work pretty well. And hey, in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, even the levels above level 10 can be not quite as unwieldy. They were a lot of fun for us in Pathfinder 1st Edition, but they were unwieldy for a lot of players.
It's been interesting going back and playing a 1st Edition game and seeing... Like, I knew that going and playing 2nd Edition, that combats just felt so much faster, but actually going back to 1st Edition and being like, oh my god, this is taking 5 times as long.
Oh yeah, it's been a while since I played 1st Edition. That was my first game, but yeah, it certainly has. But I've found that it's for my players that are less mechanically minded to kind of just get up and go, which really helps.
Alrighty. Well, I think we've answered all of chat's questions, and we got all the topics that we were talking about before.
And it's exactly 8 o'clock, which is when we usually end our interviews. So
that's true.
Any last questions coming through? And in the meantime, Virginia, were there any other things you wanted to talk about that we didn't hit?
No, I've never had an interview go this seamlessly.
Oh wow, that's good.
Thank you.
Is it usually just something weird randomly happens, or like a goat comes on the camera, or
that, or I'm begging for a job and they don't like that, so they tell me to please leave?
Oh, that kind of interview.
Kidding,
oh wait, there actually is another question from Numbat that's related to your job at Paizo.
I guess we didn't actually talk about your job at Paizo.
That's true. Well, it sometimes doesn't come up. It just depends on what people want to talk about. Whereas like Mike was talking about RPG design and development the entire time, and just different people have different priorities. But Numbat is wondering like what sort of techniques you have for mental health working in customer service.
Yeah, hi, I think I talked to you not super long ago, so hi, Numbat. I'd say being at home has helped. I have my dog with me, and so it's something I can't have at the office. Jeff has refused our requests for office puppies many times, but we're still working on that. But also, just making sure to get out of the house and knowing that you have customer service reps also who are going through the same things with you and supporting you is nice to know that you have someone else there who can help you along.
That makes sense. Just sort of the stick together camaraderie to get through it.
Well, I guess we do have some... The closest thing to office puppies we have is now when we have sort of a random side topic conversation thread going on for the office, and a lot of people have posted pictures of their pets or plants or plushies or other things like that in there.
That's true. And Numbat says, we all greatly appreciate the entire customer service team. Thank you.
Thank you. That really means a lot to us. We really, really appreciate it. We want to get you guys your games. You guys deserve fun in these hard times.
I've just seen a lot of feedback online about how amazing all of you guys are on the customer service team, and just from a lot of customers who have been just blown away compared to customer service they've sometimes had just other times that they've dealt with customer service, and how professional the team is and how just nice and how great it always works out.
That's great to hear. I'm really happy that we've been able to help people out, and it means a lot to hear that. So we love you guys.
And Ultra says, don't need to contact often, but when I did, it was perfect.
You're one of the good ones. Thank you.
Zatho said, never had a bad experience with CS, always outstanding. See, when we solicit it, we can hear it, but a lot of times I'm sure you guys get the feedback from the few people who are still kind of upset after the conversation because they feel like they want to follow up.
Yeah, that is sometimes what happens, but you know, we just gotta make sure to help everyone out and make sure that they leave happy.
One of the things that I really appreciate is that when you guys get like a really nice message from somebody, you'll send it around so that other people at the company get to share in the love.
Yeah, we always like it when people say, you know, hey, all of Paizo is great, and I would just want you guys to know that it's, you know, we really enjoy everything that you guys do, and it's just nice that people, you know, take the time to be conscientious and also, you know, compassionate towards us in the company. It is always really nice to be like, hey, we get to share this thing with everybody, and hope they'll get a smile out of it too.
Zathos has Skittermanders on the way. The Skittermander dice bags. I want to get me one of those too.
Oh yeah. And Ultra said that they'll always remember the book, getting a book with too many pages, and customer service got the next one sent out super fast.
I didn't know that was something that could happen, but
yes. Our printers in China sometimes give you a book with too many pages.
Interesting.
When nothing's print, you know, sometimes there's going to be little glitches and stuff.
Yeah, it'll glitch out.
Sure.
And sometimes you get the wrong pages or duplicates of certain pages. Yeah, the Alftro said many of the pages were in double, and it distorted the book. The whole spine, yeah.
Yeah, we've seen warped stuff like that because of weird page issues, yeah.
Yep.
And yes, the purple ones are not in stock at the moment, but we're hoping to get them in real soon.
Yep, the purple's the color Linda wants.
That's the one that's in my, that's just going to sit in my Paizo cart until it's back in stock, and then I'm going to hit the button.
There you go.
Oh, actually, I'll probably wait until we're literally back in the office, because asking warehouse to ship it to my house as opposed to just waiting until we're back there and it can be dropped off at my desk without packaging seems rather selfish. So
the warehouse are heroes, and they're getting stuff out to people.
Because the warehouse team is working right now, and despite all of these,
because they are considered essential by the state of Washington, and so they are exercising social distancing and getting stuff out.
Yeah, and we're working with them real close to get your stuff out, and they're just working hard every day. And I know Will's always like, yeah, just call me or text me. And I go, oh, well, good to know that I can get a hold of you that quickly.
Yeah. It's been really great seeing everyone at Paizo pull together with everything going on and stuff like that, and find new ways to do stuff.
And the people from No Direction actually got some critical hit cookies for the warehouse staff for getting they just ordered them to come in for all their hard work going out there to get everything out to people.
Yeah, I saw the warehouse team took a picture of it and shared it around, like, look, we have cookies.
Good. They really deserve that. And
oh yeah.
And I know they're busting their butts over there.
Absolutely. Because they have to have been behind from the time that they were off. So that's got to make it extra hard.
And I saw that they apparently caught up already, which is just like superhumanly magic.
Yeah, that was great to hear.
Yay!
Yay! Good vibes all around.
Yay!
Well, it looks like we didn't get any more questions during that time, so I think we are good to go. Thank you again very much for joining us, Virginia.
Thanks for having me. It was great to talk with you guys.
Sure. And everyone, we're just going to say bye to YouTube first. So, bye YouTube. See you next time.
Bye YouTube.